don't know. Something tells me this bushing's not good. Toast! Look at that thing. Hammered. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. So we're doing some work on the Mustang today. Making a mess. And we're going to be installing some good stuff here. This is the Roush 427R coilover package. I bought it used off a buddy. And I bought a front sway bar. So this car developed a pretty loud clank on a hard shift. And I can only assume it was the upper control arm, and it was. So I've removed the bushings. Come on, focus. And cleaned it all out. I'm getting ready to install the new prothane bushings. Let me show you the rear end. So in order to get all this stuff out, you have to pull the panhard bar off, panhard support. I went ahead and pulled the shocks off because I'm going to pull them off anyways. But let's get underneath here. I'm going to do some cleanup. I might paint the rear end a little bit or something to make it look nicer. But so there's the rear end side bushing all taken out and cleaned up. So you have to lower the tank. So you unscrew the straps, pull it down, and then you can pull the bracket out that holds the control arm. So that's where we're at. I'm getting ready to install these bushings. So I'm gonna grease them up, pound them in there, and reassemble the upper arm, and then I'm gonna start doing the coilover stuff. Well, first I'll probably clean the rear end and rattle can it real quick just to make it look a little bit nicer. Anywho, check back in a second. Wondering how you remove the bushings from the arm and the rear end. You basically drill the rubber out, you drill it out, and then I use my air-powered dot co right there with sanding drums, and then you sand out the center. So this is the middle of the big end of the arm, which is the chassis side. So you know, it's a big mess. And there's the rear end upper control arm bracket. So all right, let's get these bushings installed, get that put back together. Okay, so actually that wasn't terrible. This is the open end of the can here. So it goes in this way. You leave the metal out until you're done. So you lube up the inside. Tip that I got from one of the videos was you put the bushings in a freezer for a while to shrink them up a little bit. And I don't know if that was why it went on so well, or is because I, sanded out the inside a little bit. But basically it slipped on by hand about halfway, then I just tapped it the rest way with a hammer pretty lightly, and that was it. This end cap slips over the other side, and then you put the sleeve through the center, and you use their grease on all of that. And then I'll have to grease the sides up here before I reinstall it in the bracket. But yeah, just clean it up, and gonna bolt it back together, then go do the rear end side bushing, and then we'll bolt this thing back in there. It's actually going a lot better than I thought it was going to. I don't want to jinx it, but all right, we'll check it back in a second. All right, so we're back into the car. Got the bushing installed. Actually wasn't too bad. Very similar to the bushing in the arm. I was able to kind of push it in about halfway, then I had to tap it the rest of the way with a hammer. And then you have to tap in the bushing pretty good. It's not super easy to put in, but you have to grease the bushing and everything before you put it in the sleeve. All that has to be greased. So anyways, just been kind of cleaning up down here. Just gonna hit everything with a rattle can really quick. Looks a lot better. I'm gonna do some more cleanup before I finish, but yeah, I think I'm gonna get the upper arm back installed, get the tank back up, and then get the panhard bar cleaned up and reinstalled. Need to make an adjustment to my exhaust. It's been bothering me this whole time, and I can see where the rear end's actually been tapping on the pipes, so I'm gonna try and move the pipes forward a little bit. I can adjust them up front. So I think, well, it could have been hitting because the rear end was moving so much. I can guarantee you under load, this rear end was pitching forward and backwards a ton, because if I was able to move that bushing by hand that easy, the loads of the car were moving the crap out of that bushing. So it wouldn't surprise me if this thing was going back and forth an inch, which obviously is changing your pinion angle a ton, and could have been some of the vibrations that I was feeling at some point under load. So because it basically puts a bunch of strain on the joints on the drive shaft. So anyways, we'll see. I can't believe this is going to be so much better with that bushing like that, with the polyurethane bushing, and the coilovers is going to be like driving a new car. So I'm getting pretty excited. All right, let's get this arm back in here. All right, so the arm is back in, tank is buttoned back up, so we're good to put the panhard bar back on. Yeah. All right, so the rear is all done. Just need to get the wheels on, get on the ground, and adjust my ride height, and probably the panhard bar after that's all set. So clean it up a little bit, paint the rear end, looks a little bit nicer. All right, let's get this thing on the ground, see how it looks. All right, so the rear is all done. I had to make a slight adjustment to the panhard bar, just like a 1/16 of an inch. So I got us sitting a little bit lower than it was before, maybe 3/8 of an inch. There's not a ton of adjustability left, probably another 3/8 of an inch in ride height maybe is left in adjustment, but I don't need to go any lower than this. It's not for looks. I just drove it around the corner and I can already feel that it feels different. So there's way less body roll just having the rears done. So anyways, pretty stoked. Let's get to the front. Hopefully it doesn't take too long. Knock on wood. All right, so I finally got my first control arm out. To get it out, you actually have to unbolt the rack and the steering shaft from the rack and pull it forward to get the front bolt out. That bolt that goes right in that spot right there. And you need a 21 wrench to get the 2 bolts off the back. So here's a comparison between the GT500 arm and the stock one. So the ball joints are pretty loose. I mean, it's not terrible, but I did see there's some cracking in the rubber. Not horrible, but it's definitely been deflecting. The construction is different, which is interesting. Not sure which one's better, but so we'll throw these in there and keep on cruising. Supposedly these have a heavier duty ball joint. Jeez, I can't move that thing. Holy cow. It's a lot tighter. So anyways, let's get the heat shield on this and then we'll throw it in there. All right, so I got the first side completely done. Got the new arms in there. Got the iBox sway bar in, and it's set to the middle hole. Got the Roush coilovers in. Brakes are back on. I got the cooling duct, brake duct hooked back up. So yeah, that's it for this side, and then once we get the other side down, we get wheels back on it, and I can start playing with the camber and checking the toe and all that stuff. I got the other side started. You do have to unbolt the rack and move it forward to get those bolts out. It's a 21, I think I already said that. Yeah, so just gotta take a break, go make dinner, and come back and finish the other side. All right, so it's the next morning. I'm just checking everything out. I thought I heard some exhaust rubbing last night. I thought maybe it was rubbing on the rear end, but there's plenty clearance, so I'm not sure what I was hearing or feeling, but maybe it was nothing. But anyways, check out all these clean parts in here, looking good. Look at those freaking meats. Woo. That's a lot of tire, boy. Anyways, test drive went good last night, but I'm gonna check everything out this morning and clean it all up. The car's filthy. It's been sitting outside for a few weeks, but anyways, get the car cleaned up and I'm gonna take it for a ride. I do have a small leak on my steering rack now from I had the sway bar routed wrong the first time, and it was putting a bunch of tension on the one of the power steering lines. So, and I was trying to bolt the rack back in, and I couldn't get it to line up, and then I realized that the one line was wrapped around the front of the sway bar and it should have been behind it, so it put some tension on that line. I think it tweaked it a little bit, so it left a small little puddle overnight, so I gotta look into that, which sucks. And I've had that line leak before when I messed up that, I tweaked that line before, so probably have to take it apart and tweak it and see if I can get it to stop leaking. Anyways, let's get this thing cleaned up. All right, so everything's finished. I'm pretty sure I got that leak figured out on the steering rack, and I gave the car a much needed wash and quick detail. Let's see if you guys, so it's not sitting much lower than it was before. It is a little bit, mostly in the back. I think the front's pretty much what it was before. I haven't checked the camber with a gauge of any sort. I just kind of eyeballed it. I think I'm actually running a little bit less than I was before. But probably not a bad thing because I was getting pretty bad tire wear on the street. But anyways, got it all finished up. I got the toe adjusted. I got a 16th inch toe in, just a hair. That way under braking the tires stay straight because they'll flex back under braking. They'll toe out. So suspension's all done. I'm gonna go do a quick drive and see how it feels. I turned the struts and shocks up a little bit and drove it around to the car wash and stuff. You know, honestly, it's not horrible. Turned up to pretty close to track settings on the shocks, and I mean it's tolerable. It's not like it's beating the crap out of you. And the roads around here suck. So here's the new caster camber plates, Maxim Motorsports. I also did a Steeda strut tire brace. And it's funny that I haven't had strut tire brace yet, obviously, and I'm thinking, well, if I'm doing coilovers, there's going to be a lot more load in the chassis because of how much stiffer they are. So I figured I better get a brace. It's funny because even just having the car jacked up with the weight being supported on the K-member with the jack, I couldn't get the strut tire brace on. That's how far the tires had spread apart. I couldn't even align the studs through the holes. So I had to put weight on the wheels to get the strut tire brace on. That tells you just how much flexing chassis do. That's just static. That's not even cornering or anything. You can only imagine how much things are moving around under a corner or heavy braking or things like that. So these are camber and caster adjustable. You see, I have them pretty close to max out. I can actually go a little bit farther on camber, but I think this is plenty. At the track, I was seeing hotter temps on the inside of the tire, which means I have too much camber. So maybe now a little bit less, it'll even out just a hair. So let's see, couple other things, a couple new additions or changes to the engine bay. My friend Nico gave me this Mishimoto oil separator, so I got that hooked up, which is sweet. Thanks, Nico, my boy. And then what happened to my beautiful, amazing, sexy Ford Racing intake manifold? Well, last time I was at the track, I found myself shifting around 6,000 RPM, just short shifting because of the corners or whatever, and just, you know, you don't want to be shifting close to 7,000 every single shift for 20 minutes straight on the track. It's hard on stuff. So I just found myself short shifting a lot, which pretty much negates any gains offered by the Ford Racing manifold. If you're drag racing and you're in peak RPM at all times, then that's one thing. But on the road course, I found myself using higher gears coming out of corners than I could, and just with that manifold, there's just hardly any mid-range torque compared to the stock one. So what I did was I have two stock manifolds because I got one with the motor that I bought, and I had my old original stock one. This is the one off of the '08 Bullet. I actually did the DIY CMRC delete on the valves here. So I deleted those and I ported the openings of the plates and the intake manifold to match the heads. So it's lightly ported. I did a little bit of porting up here behind the throttle body. So basically just optimizing the stock intake manifold, and I will tell you that it pulls much stronger in the mid-range especially. Top end honestly is, I can't tell the difference on the top end, but mid-range and low end are substantially better with this manifold. So I'm looking forward to testing at the track, see what that does for me coming off of corners, give it a little more steam coming out of the corners, and yeah, super stoked. The car is just running awesome right now. It's pulling really good. So I'm actually really curious. I'd like to dyno the car just to see what it's making. So anyways, let's go take this thing for a quick drive and see how it feels on some twisty turns. Secret test location in Mexico. Brakes and tires warmed up a little bit. Oh man, it turns so flat. It's ridiculous. Oh my goodness. Alright, well, I'm thoroughly blown away. This thing's nuts. If this thing had a real tire on it, it would be unbelievable. And, you know, the Nitto Invos work pretty well for what they are. It's a street tire, you know, it's not a race tire at all. And, you know, it does okay on track, at least in cooler temperatures, cooler ambient temperatures. Man, I'm just like, I can't believe the difference in nosedive. It's like, it doesn't even nosedive at all anymore.